Of course, when you talk about the sound in Citizen Kane, it's impossible to ignore the contribution of Bernard Herrmann. Herrmann had been working with Wells since 1936 as resident musical director of the Mercury Theatre's radio shows. They were men of similar temperament, Herrmann being as much an autocrat with his musicians as Wells was with his actors, which made him the automatic choice to score Citizen Kane. Like Wells, Herrmann had been a child prodigy whose extraordinary talents flowered early and quickly earned him a considerable reputation in the music world. Citizen Kane, though, was his first film score, and in keeping with the rest of the picture, it was hailed as innovative in a variety of ways. Where most composers of the period used large orchestras to underscore dramatic subjects such as this, Herrmann composed for smaller musical combinations before building up to a larger orchestra for the operatic sequences that came later in the film. For the memorable opening sequence, as we move into the eerie, twilight world of Kane's decaying pleasure dome Xanadu, Herrmann made effective use of low brass and woodwind. While for the flashback to Kane's childhood, which starts in the Thatcher Library, he used woodwind in a completely different way. The mood here is one of wistful curiosity blending into a lighter, happier reflection on the short-lived joys of childhood. Obviously, Herrmann was not responsible for all the music in the picture. Certain cues incorporated works by Chopin, Rossini and Handel, and there were other brief contributions from the RKO Music Library. In certain scenes, there's a bluesy jazz ballad composed by Charlie Barnett with lyrics by Haven Johnson. And at different stages, this recurring piece is performed both vocally and instrumentally. In this scene, it's played by a background piano. In conversation with the director, Peter Bogdanovich, Wells revealed that the piano player was in fact Nat King Cole. Wells had heard the King Cole trio play the song in a Hollywood nightclub and thought it would fit perfectly into the film, this being before Cole was known as a singer. Of course, most of the film's music was composed, orchestrated and conducted by Bernard Herrmann. One of the trickiest problems he had to solve was finding a convincing way of illustrating Susan Alexander's chaotic debut as an opera singer. Wells wanted the curtain to rise on an aria, but neither he nor Herrmann could find an opera that began in this way, so Herrmann composed his own opera, Salambo, especially for the film. The character of Susan, Kane's mistress, has a voice of sorts, but not a very good one. To make the scene convincing, Herrmann engaged a light lyric soprano and composed a vocal line that was above her natural range. By setting the vocal against a densely textured Strauss-like orchestration, he convincingly created the impression that Susan, the singer, was pitifully inadequate. Deservedly, Bernard Herrmann received an Oscar nomination for his work on Citizen Kane, but ironically lost out to himself, winning the Academy Award for his score, composed later that year, For All That Money Can Buy. The following year, he worked with Wells again on The Magnificent Ambersons, but had his name removed from the credits when RKO re-edited the film without the director's approval. He never worked with Wells again, but his score for Kane is regarded, along with his later work for Hitchcock, as some of the finest music in cinema history.